All right, so I just want to start off. We're going to take it standing to begin. Good. First, what was it? Last class, I did some reflexology for the feet as one of our warm-ups. So what I'm going to move to today is we're going to do, again, some myofascial release for the feet using a tennis ball. Do we all have a ball of some kind? Is that a positive? Yeah? Okay, good, good. Good, good. Awesome. You're both set. All right, so I'm going to place the ball on the ground. We're going to start with, just for cueing sake, I'm going to go with my right foot. And all we're going to do is we're going to roll down the center arch, okay? This is a pretty standard protocol that I go through all the time. Excellent. And so you may notice certain spots as you're rolling through the center arch that feel a little stickier than others. So definitely feel free to spend some time there. I feel it kind of in the center of my arch, so I'm just taking a moment, the center of the mid-arch. And you can apply pressure, or you can kind of squish down on it like you're squishing a bug. After a few more passes here, we're going to roll to the outside edge of the foot. And so your standing leg, this is the leg that you're more or less balancing on. If you work on keeping it a little bit soft, then we're using our musculature to help us maintain balance. And so we can really roll the ball on our floating leg right along that outside edge of the foot. Feeling balanced and supported here. This is a little more passive feeling than mid-arch. Okay, good. So you might find yourself playing a little soccer too, like I just was. It's okay. We're gonna go inside arch now. Inside arch. And as always, I really like to spend a little bit of time where the inside arch meets the big toe knuckle. There's usually a little kind of tender spot in there. Is everybody feeling that? It's pretty common for a lot of folks, yeah. So just give that spot a little bit of love there. Beautiful. All right, so now we've got center arch or mid arch, excuse me. We've got the outside blade edge of the foot. And now we've just rolled inside arch. Let's go to the heel. So you're gonna place that ball right in the center of your heel. Apply gentle pressure downward. And then I like to do little kind of concentric circles out toward the outside edge of the heel. And if you're looking for another little trigger point, usually you can find a few right where the front of the heel meets the arch of the foot. You might find a couple nice sticking points there. Good. You keep rolling that heel for a couple more passes. I'm going to adjust my little ring light here. Oops. Modest amount of light, but it'll do. Now we're going to place the heel on the ground, and we're going to place the ball underneath the balls of the right foot. Okay, starting with the inside ball of foot, that's the big toe knuckle, and we're going to cross fiber the ball from the big toe knuckle to the outside edge of your foot. So that's big toe side to pinky side and back. And what we're trying to do with this is we're trying to just spread the bones of the feet, the metatarsals, Just create a little bit more space in the forefoot here. Feels really nice, especially if you can get your foot to relax a little bit. Good. And then we'll just work on strengthening the arch coming up next. So we're going to keep the heel rooted on the ground. We're going to place our first 3 toes on the tennis ball, maybe 4 toes on the tennis ball. And without placing the weight of your body onto the ball, you're just going to work on squeezing the ball with your foot, with the musculature of your foot. Yeah. Excellent. And we'll just give it a few general passes here, just all around the foot. Maybe if you want to revisit a spot that felt really good to you, you can do that. Good. A few more seconds for that. And then you'll remove the ball from under your foot. A little adjustment here. Good. And let's just stand evenly on both of our feet and take a quick assessment of how our treated foot feels versus our untreated foot. Maybe shift your weight from one foot to the next. Good. And I like to take a spinal roll because, well, spinal rolls are great, but this will also help us assess how this helps more than just the musculature of the foot. So we'll start to tuck the chin, and we'll just roll down vertebra by vertebra with relaxed arms, totally relaxed head. And you'll allow yourself to roll down as far as your body wants to go right now. Good. And then once you've found your bottom here, you're going to straighten your legs out as much as your body allows and shift your weight from your unrolled foot to your rolled foot. And just notice the difference between the foot that you just rolled. Maybe you notice a little bit more space in the ankle of the foot you just rolled, in the corresponding calf of the foot you just rolled. And maybe, just maybe, the hamstring or the hip feels a little freer on that side. And so this is the principle of irradiation. By creating integrity at the far part of a limb, you create integrity through the limb. And the same goes for releasing the tissue. By releasing the hands and the feet, you begin the process of releasing the tissues of the limbs as well. That's why I always start with hands and feet. Let's roll up gently, vertebra by vertebra. Soft knees always helps. Excellent. Thumbs up if you at least felt a little bit more space in the ankle and calf. Yeah? We get that? Awesome, gang. Yeah. So it does make a big difference. If you didn't feel it in this leg, we have another leg we can do. And so again, I go second with my left foot. And this is my tighter foot. So you might actually notice the same thing. So we're going to roll center arch. Good. I'm going to get a little closer so I can see you. Good. You're rolling center arch here. And this is just from the knuckles of the feet to the front of the heel. Good. Spending a little bit of time in those sticky points, spots where you might feel adhesion. Awesome. Great. Let's find that outside edge of the foot now. Ooh, I'm cheating. I was holding on to the ledge there, naughty me. So we're just going to roll outside edge. Great. After 1 or 2 more passes, we'll go inside arch. Again, nice reminder to find that trigger point where the big toe knuckle meets the arch. It's great. Okay. So ladies and gents, it is heel time now. So we're going to place the ball underneath the center heel, and we're going to do those little concentric circles. And you can change directions too. I think I failed to mention that on the last foot. So we're getting a little bit of coordination work here with our myofascial release. You also might be feeling a little bit of work in your standing leg. Great. Again, front of heel, you might find a couple of knots, a couple of adhesions in there. Great. Heel will root down onto the ground. And now we'll get this cross fibering from the toe side of, or the big toe side of the foot to the pinky toe side of the foot. This is great. This is my everyday right here. My everyday foot release. If I have a tennis ball or a car buffer, that will be a subject for a different video. Good. All right, so once we've done a few more passes through the knuckles of the foot, right, the metatarsals, then we'll place our first 3 or 4 toes on the ball, depending on the size of your foot or the size of your ball. We're gonna squeeze without putting the weight of our body into the ball, right? That's cheating. We're gonna squeeze the ball. A good sign that this is your tighter foot, aside from myofascial release feeling a little bit more intense, is your foot is more liable to cramp up if it doesn't have its full expression, its full range. Good. Wonderful. And then we'll just do a few general passes here, finding your favorite spots to revisit. Excellent. All right, place that ball aside. Come a little closer here. Oh, that's great. That's what I've been wanting the whole time. All right, so while we're standing, let's just do a little bit of work on the hands here. I want to bring your hands forward like you're doing double stop signs with your hands. And we want to do these big, broad, controlled articulations through the wrist. So you're making the biggest circles with your hands that you can, bonus points, if you can really work on keeping your elbow straight. So you're using your triceps muscle to hug onto your upper arm bone to straighten the elbows. We're really just trying to rely on our musculature to create the greatest range of motion that we can. I'm doing hands in these outward circles for now. If you started inward, that is totally okay. You can feel free to do one hand at a time and really try to squeeze all of the action that you can out of this. The more, or the less that we explore these outer end ranges of our general range of motion, the more we tend to lose it. So it's the old, if you don't use it, you'll lose it maxim. Now we'll go in the opposite direction if you haven't. Great. And you can do both hands at once, or if you feel like getting novel with it. Oh, now I'm getting it figured out. You can do one hand at a time. And really for these few more passes, how much can you spread your fingers wide and really get the hands involved as well? It is some forearm work. You will feel this in the flexors and the extensors, the belly and the top of the forearm. Great. Excellent. Shake it all off here briefly. Okay, nice hand stretch sequence. Right hand, it's opposite for me, but it's right hand. You're going to make a stop sign. You are going to, I would say our first version is if you have some issues with your wrists, you can keep your fingers up. The version that I like to go toward is bringing my fingertips down. So I'm circling my hand outward till my fingertips are down. I'm using my free hand, that's my left hand, to take my fingers. I'm going to draw my fingers back, but more importantly, I'm going to work on spreading the fingers and really drawing the palm of my hand forward while I straighten out my arms. And so we've got a really intense stretch for the belly of the forearm here. And here's where this big deep breath comes into play. I want to start to just bring this into the program. This big deep breath, not just through the belly, but through the entirety of the rib cage. So we're directing the breath into our side ribs and upper back. And if you can do that, what you might notice is on your in-breath, you're going to get a little bit more feedback on that stretch. So we're using this expansiveness of the breath to deepen the stretch. One more thing we can do is we can create some resistance. So you can just press your fingertips into your free hand and slowly let your fingertips win until your wrist is almost straight. We're just going to do this once or twice. Then you'll let your free hand win, so to speak, slowly, while your fingertips are creating this resistance. Friendly reminder to work on straightening the arm still. Good. Just a few more moments, just breathing into the stretch without resistance, and then shake it off. Ooh-wee. We're only halfway done with that hand, and it feels totally different than my left hand. So you're going to give me the old stop, and then you're going to go on. You're just going to bend at the wrist. Free hand, again, that's my left hand, is taking the knuckles of my right hand. That's my stretching hand and wrist. I get a little bit more out of this by drawing my fingertips underneath my forearm. Good. My shoulders are grounding for this. And also what I'm working on is, of course, straightening the arm. Just the structure in the arm deepens the stretch. But also we want to work on drawing the bones of the wrist forward as much as your range of motion allows. Okay. Again, breathing into this might deepen the sensation you feel in the stretch, especially on the in-breath. Good. We have a couple moments to create some resistance in this stretch. So if you want to, again, your free hand, that's my left hand, is going to create the resistance, but allow my right hand or right wrist to slowly straighten. I'm almost done straightening out. And then here now, I'm going to let my right hand win. So my wrist is slowly bending again as I'm creating resistance, right hand to left hand to right hand. And shake it off. Good. Good little test. Let's open, close the hands. I usually find that the hand that I released is moving a little bit quicker, or at least feels like it is. Good. Okay, left hand now. Stop. Right? So this is our level 1, right? And then this is the level 2. This is what I've been working. Notice that I'm really already working on spreading the fingers. I'm going to use my right hand as the free hand now. And I'm going to draw my fingertips back. as I offer the palm of my hand forward. Good. I am working on creating the structure in my left hand. And I am working on creating some structure in my shoulders, just drawing my shoulders away from my ears. Good. Deep breath, yes, through the belly, but also through the back and the ribs. The inhale is this deepening breath. The exhale is this kind of releasing breath. Let's create a little resistance stretch here. Pressing the fingertips into the palm of the right hand and vice versa. We're slowly going to let our stretching hand straighten. Good. Okay, and now we're definitely going to slowly isometrically resist as we start to bend our wrist again or extend our wrist again. Okay. Take a few more moments for non-resistant stretch, just bringing breath back into the ribs before gently releasing it and shaking it off. Excellent. We're going to go stop. Left hand or my left hand, and then I'm going to bend my wrist, go on. And then my right hand is my free hand. It's going to wrap over the knuckles of my left hand, grounding the shoulders, straightening the left arm. I'm then going to also wrap my fingers underneath the belly of my forearm. That'll just give me a little bit more lengthening in the extensors here. So I've got a bent wrist. I've got fingers wrapped under, and then I'm drawing the bones of my forearm forward for a little bit more. Breathing into that. There's so many little variations you can do with these hand stretches. I got the thumb involved the last time. All right, let's create a little resistance here. So I am slowly working on straightening out my left wrist and hand with resistance created by my right hand, my free hand. I'd say about 5 to 10 seconds to straighten and bend the wrist. We're going to go back in the other direction. I'm slowly bending my left wrist and fingers with my right hand, working on maintaining structure in the left arm. Wrap the fingers back underneath the belly of the left arm. Return to our original forearm stretch here, non-resistance. Breathe into the back and the ribs. Good. Excellent. Shake it all off. Wonderful. Okay, just want to do a little bit of shoulder work here before we take it down to the ground, okay? Big circles with one arm. I'm choosing my right arm first. Now, a couple things just to keep in mind here. I'm really working on this joint mobility. So I want to create structure in my body. I have my feet. The midlines of my feet are parallel to one another. I'm standing a little bit wider, shoulder width apart. Good. My hips are even. So I'm not swinging my hips as I swing my arm. And even more importantly, my shoulder points are stable. So really, I'm just going to try to work the pure range of motion that the musculature of the right side shoulder girdle provides. Good. So I'm keeping connection to the tissues. Even the arm, I'm working to keep straight. And let's get some irradiation involved. It's this concept I mentioned early. So make a fist with the right hand. Really work on keeping a straight wrist. And what you might notice is that you're able to squeeze a little more range of motion this way. So this is active end range work we're doing here. You may also notice that I'm making a fist with my non-moving hand. This irradiation principle applies to both sides because I'm trying to stay stable here. Good, and let's change directions. Now, maybe it's just me, but this feels like work. So this is always just a friendly reminder that you don't need equipment, you just need a couple of good creative exercises. Good. One more pass here. Ooh, I cheated that one a little. Good. Excellent. So if you like that, I don't have a wall at my disposal right now, but if you like that and you really want to work on that stability, you can always place your shoulder right up against a wall with your palm right up against a wall. So you can use your arm to keep you stable as you do that controlled articular rotation in the arm. So wall work is always really useful for these things. Today, we're just going without. Okay, really good solid base here, midlines of the feet, parallel to one another. Yep, shoulder width apart, hip points even. Maybe we connect to that good core musculature. Shoulders draw down the back, and we're gonna go opposite arm now. All right, let's go non-irradiating first. So no fists yet. Okay, we're just working on a more passive range. Maybe not muscling. Let's just find what the passive range of motion is without any kipping or compensation. Okay, I'm going to prepare to go into this irradiation technique. In order to really use the integrity of the forearm, notice if your wrist is bending back, because then you're breaking kinetic chain, right? We want to maintain kinetic chain by keeping pretty much a ruler straightness from the elbow to the knuckles. Okay, so then we create this irradiation through the musculature of the distal arms, the far arms. Right arm is drawing down. This is this isometric reach down through the knuckles of the right hand. And then left hand is also in our irradiation position, irradiation posture. Active end range. Controlled articular rotations. You can go as slow or as fast as you want. And the slower you go, the more that you'll be able to feel kind of that razor's edge of mobility. You might find a little bit more space in there. Speed, we're sacrificing this end range mobility. I'm changing directions here. You don't have to if you're really having fun in the direction that you're going in. Now here's something interesting just to get granular. As my hand is going back, something that I'm working on considering is I'm drawing that corresponding shoulder forward, right? It's this isometric opposing reach. So my hand, I'm drawing back, and my shoulder, I'm drawing gently forward to create a little more opening in the chest. Woo. And when you're ready, shake it all off. Now, thumbs up if that felt like a little bit of work, didn't it? Yeah, but thumbs up if you're also feeling a little bit more mobile in the shoulders, right? I mean, it's so cool. So we're getting this active end range to also help create some mobility. We'll be doing the fun stretches on the ground, I promise you. So let's take it down to the ground. Yeah, hands and knees. Let's start in this cat-cow position. So our all fours tabletop position. While we're getting all set up on the ground, are there any questions, comments, grievances? We're all good? I'm happy. Okay, you're happy, I'm happy. Let's see how this is gonna work in terms of the view. All right, yeah. All right, so good time for just our spinal articulations, okay? We're gonna focus a little bit on our structure, as I like to do. So let's spread the fingers wide on the ground. Good. And then let's try to work on getting our index fingers parallel to one another so that we can also focus on creating structure and integrity in the arms for this. So we want to try to keep our arms straight. Bonus points if you can externally rotate your arms so that the inside pit of the elbow, it's where the forearm meets the bicep, is forward. This will allow us to more easily draw our shoulders down our back, or at least have connection to the upper back. So on the inhale, we'll work on lengthening. So in this extension of the spine, this lengthening of the spine, this gentle back bend, if we can really focus on spreading the sitting bones, but also we want to focus a little bit on keeping the neck long. So you may notice that my voice isn't really strained. I'm not craning my head back to the point where it's hard for me to talk. So you can do a little vocal check there. And I'm staying in spinal extension for a second. The last time we toggled back and forth with a little bit more pace, but just feel this static back bend. And one way that you can move is you can move your tailbone away from the crown of your head, and you can work on moving your shoulders down your back away from your ears. So we're creating this intrinsic tractioning of the spine. And then we'll exhale, and we want to expose the skin of our upper back toward the ceiling, spreading the shoulder blades far away from one another. We're in a deep flexion. Here, the elbows might want to bend a little bit, but let's work on returning some structure to the arms. And since we're staying here for a moment, can you breathe into the tight spaces in your back and see what that does for you? Even though my head is down, participating in flexion, I can still work on keeping my neck long. I can still move my tailbone away from the crown of my head. Good, now let's add a little bit of pace here. So we'll spend about 4 or 5 seconds in extension, in flexion, extension, flexion, extension, and flexion. Great. Okay, side bend. This is the puppy. A little repetition here from the last time as well. So we're in our all fours. Take a moment to actually just circle the wrists. What was I thinking? We spent all that time on mobilizing the wrists. Okay. We're returning to all fours position at our ready. Fingertips are spread wide. Good. I've got my wrists under my shoulders. Reminding myself to get my knees a little bit further back behind my hip sockets. And so the active foot here is going to be the left foot. I'm going to keep my knee on the ground. I'm going to lift my left foot and point it. Knee left pivots. So on my inhale, I'm going to take my left foot out, and I'm going to just take a nice look at my big toe left foot. And then on my exhale, I'm going to cross that foot past my midline, and I'm going to look at my big toe on the other side. Inhale out. Take a gaze at that big toe on the outside. Exhale across. Take a look at that big toe across the inside. Rinse, wash, repeat. I'm going to get a little closer and just take a gaze at what we got going on over here. Everyone's doing really great. Your knee is on the ground. That's your kind of pivoting point. And a couple of things that I really like to emphasize. Good structure in the arms, everyone. It's not a reminder, that's a compliment. But you'll notice that when your foot is outside of your body, one side, well, whatever position your foot is in, you're going to notice that there's a closed side of your body and there's a side of your body that's open. You're going to want to breathe into that open side. Good. Or another way of saying that is you want to try to make that open side more open. Sometimes you're not on an in-breath when that side is open. So you just want to really work on spreading your ribs on that open side and really closing your obliques on the closed side. So we're really exaggerating that lateral bend in the spine. How much can you get your head fully involved in this too, and your neck? Yeah, just a few more passes here. It turns into work after a little bit. Good, everyone. Okay, let's switch sides now. So we're getting lateral bend in spine. Yep, taking some time for the wrists. Okay, good. So we're going, I am going right side. You may be doing something a little bit different. Remember, just reminder, integrity in the arms, shoulders down the back. Good. Did I do that? Yeah. Okay, so inhale, take your foot out. Maybe just take a second or two to take a nice long gaze at that big toe, opening the open side of your body and closing the closed side of your body, and then bring the foot across on an exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Another couple interesting things to play with is notice if you're shifting your weight on your knees or in your hands, right? As you side bend your spine, you might be leaning into one side more than the other. Can you try your best to keep the weight 25% in each of the four corners? These fun little physical riddles here. Good. Again, breathing into the open spaces or really exaggerating the action of this lateral curvature of the spine, something we just don't do that much in regular life. Very sagittal. I had a teacher tell me we have sagittarius. Too much forward, backward sitting, that type of stuff. Good. Few more passes, just one or two more breaths here. Excellent. Take a moment for child's pose, circling the wrists. You can go passive child's pose. You can go active child's pose and walk your fingertips along the mat forward as you try to reach your tailbone sacrum back in the opposite direction. Breathing into the spreading ribs of the middle back as you do so. Great. Fantastic. So I want to do just a little bit of blood flow work. It's nothing too intense. It's just going to be some plank down dog, and I just want to demonstrate first. So you can just watch briefly. Nothing fancy here, maybe a little fancy, but not that fancy. You're going to take your best down dog. And then what we're going to work on is we're going to work on rolling that weight forward. Notice what happens. I go from straight leg, straight spine, and then suddenly I get so bold as to get my abdominals involved. And I start to round out through the lower back. The weight starts to shift forward onto my hands. My chin is still tucked. I'm still rolling my weight forward. Notice the curvatures in my upper middle back. So it's traveling like a wave, and then it'll go through until I am straightening my head and neck into a plank position. Here comes the fun part, the spine roll backwards. So I tuck my chin, then I round my upper middle back. I allow that rounding to migrate to my low back, and then I'll straighten it out through my tailbone. So we're doing a couple things here, a few things. We're doing a plank, we're doing a down dog, and we're doing a spine roll. Now I'm going to try my best to cue you through it, okay? We'll try to do it together based on those cues. And if you haven't done something like this before, you may not feel the waving action of the spine right off the bat. Do not be intimidated by that. This is just one of those repetition deals. You're just building the sensitivity. All right, let's begin. I want to start in our downward dog, okay? And so I'll cue you through this, but just so you know, this is from the tailbone up. This is how the curvature is starting. It's starting at the tip of the tailbone. So what you want to try to imagine doing is curling your tailbone, your sits bones underneath you. You'll start to feel a round in the low back. You can just keep breathing naturally as you allow that rounding to occur from the low back to the middle lower back, not at the shoulder blades yet, but the middle back now. Good. Now you can start to feel your shoulder blades spread a little bit as you round the lower upper back. Everyone looks good who I'm looking at. Now our shoulders aren't quite stacked over the wrists. We need to round the lower neck still. The chin is still tucked. Then you unfurl the neck once you're fully in a plank, once your shoulders are aligned over the wrists. Good. Take 1 or 2 breaths here in this plank. And now we're going from the crown of the head back. So we're going to tuck our chin. You're going to feel that rounding in the neck and the upper shoulders. Let that rounding, keep your chin tucked, move to the upper back in between the scapula, the shoulder blades. Breathe into that for a second so you can feel it. Good. Now we're going to go from the shoulder blades to just under the bottom of the shoulder blades. Take a breath there. Good. Now we're going to go from that space between the shoulder blades and the lower back to the lower back. So start to allow that flexion sensation to occur in the upper lower back. Good. Moving ever further downward until your tailbone goes to a straight position. So you're reaching your tailbone back, creating length in the lower back. By creating length in the lower back, that flexion, I like to say, rolls off your tailbone. Good, take a second, drop the knees, shake it all off. So just a couple things maybe you felt. Did anyone feel a little bit of stretching or opening in their back when they were in flexion? Did anyone get that? Yeah, okay, we got a little bit of that. Good, so that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to, again, bring breath into that middle space. We're trying to get flexion and some flexion and some gentle extension of the spine. And we're also just trying to get some blood flow in the shoulders, legs, and core muscles. So I want to do this one more time. Now you know what to do, so I'm going to let you do it at your own pace, okay? Play with it at your own pace. The one thing I'll ask is that you do start from down dog again, just so that I can kind of sync it up in my own mind and just keep an eye on you, okay? So good down dog. We're going to look for feet somewhere around shoulder width or a little wider. Midlines of the feet and legs are parallel to one another. Good. Integrity in the arms. And now we're moving at our own pace. This is from tailbone to top of head. The chin should be tucked now at this point, fully. The last thing that straightens out is the neck and the crown of the head, the tippy top of the head, reaching forward in front of you. Wowie. Wowie zowie. Very nice. Okay, now we're gonna tuck the chin, right? And then we're gonna reintroduce that wave into the upper spine, down to the tailbone. The last thing that is happening is the tailbone will unhinge. It'll reach away from the crown of the head in opposite directions from your down dog. The back of your neck will feel long at this point. Good. And then bring the knees down to the ground and shake it off. Good. Beautiful. All right. We're going to get some deep stretch in the legs now, and we're going to get a little bit of a twist for our groundwork. Okay. So does everyone have a strap? Yeah. Okay, great. So fantastic. Let's bring it down on, if you don't have a strap, then you can just get an apparel belt, you know, for blue jeans or fancy pants. All right, so let's get onto our backs here. Have your strap at your side, dear friends, okay? But I'm gonna have you lie onto your backs now. I'm just gonna start with a little bit of a figure 4 stretch here. So let's pick our left leg to come up in the tabletop position. Yeah, and then we'll take our right ankle onto the top of our left knee. I'll demonstrate. Good. Now what I like to do is I like to take my left hand behind my left thigh, and I'm going to take my right hand through my legs, right? I'm threading that needle, and then I'm lacing my fingers behind my thigh. If you want to go deeper, here's what you can do. You bring your hands to the front of your knee. Yep, the front of your left knee. So, okay. We've got basic position down. Now let's have a little bit of fun. The first thing I want to recommend you do, if you're not doing it, is try to lay your entire tailbone flat onto the ground. Right? We're going to tuck the chin and we're going to lengthen the back of the neck. So the ground and gravity and our own awareness is creating gentle traction in the spine. Now we're going to try to open our right knee. That's our bent knee. Our stretching hip as much as we can, as much as our body allows. And then we are going to draw our left knee up toward our head and shoulders, if it feels good. You know, respect your own range of motion and respect your own history if there's something going on with the knee that doesn't feel good. Now let's just take an inventory to feel where you're feeling this in your body. Just have that awareness and see if you can direct the breath into those spaces. It might sound a little absurd, but yes, we're having this stretch in the glute and in the hip, right? You can actually breathe into that space. And the way you would do that is you breathe in through the belly and the low back. And try to direct that expansion of the in-breath and contraction of the out-breath into that space. And that will certainly dictate the intensity of that stretch just a little bit more. It'll help inform it a little bit more. Good. You can also draw gentle circles with your bent left knee. So we're just creating a little range of motion by stirring the left femur in the hip socket. Can you do that while keeping your tailbone on the ground and sacrum rooted into the floor? That will also help you maintain some intensity. One more little thing that we can do is you can actively press your right ankle into your left knee as you actively press your left knee into your right ankle, while also working on opening that right knee as much as you can. So we're creating a little isometric in here. That will certainly open the hip. And let's do one more little thing in here. Can you drop your right hip while you're here? So that would mean opening your right side a little bit in this stretch. So before, the hips were even like this. And now what I'm cueing is to take this hip this way, just in case you're confused. Good. Let's windshield wiper the knees here. Little mobility break. Maybe notice the difference between the stretched hip and the unstretched hip. Just taking that simple inventory. Okay, so now my right leg is a shelf leg and my left ankle goes onto my right knee. We're stretching our left hip. This side for me is a little bit tighter. Options for the hands. You can go behind the thigh. My left hand threads the needle of the legs. Or you can take the hands at the front of the knee. The thing you want to make sure is that you can keep your tailbone sacrum rooted or get as close to that as possible. And also be sure to just draw the chin in gently and have some awareness toward lengthening the back of the neck. Good. Wherever you are, this might be pretty good. You can always add a little more feedback just by breathing deeply into the belly and the low back. You can always add a little more structure by drawing the shoulders down the back. We'll add some passive movement here just by drawing circles with the right knee. They don't have to be big circles, just a couple inch diameter, and change directions. Good. Now I'm creating this isometric. I'm drawing my right knee into my left ankle and vice versa as I'm working on opening that left knee a little bit. And if you want a little bit more of a challenge and also some subtle opening for the sacrum, that's where you drop your left hip this way. So this is a raised or hiked left hip. This is a dropped left hip. I'm releasing the isometric and I'm just going back to our standard stretch. Beautiful. Windshield wiper the knees, left to right, one more time. Okay, so my feet are as wide as possible, not as wide as possible. They're wider than shoulder width. I'll demonstrate here. I'm gonna have my left knee fall in. My left knee is falling in toward my midline. I'm going to gently place the outside of my right foot onto the outside of my left knee. Great. Now right there, just by allowing the weight of your right leg to fall onto the outside of your left knee, you may already start to feel an opening or even a gentle torsion, a gentle twisting of the sacrum tailbone area of the spine. That might be enough. You might just want to stay there and breathe into that gentle twist. If you're looking for something a little bit more, you can start to apply load onto the outside of the left knee with your right foot. And then we can create a little bit deeper twist by trying our best to draw our left hip back toward the ground a little bit. Moving slowly into that and breathing into where you're feeling this twisting. Good. Now, let's unload that left knee. We're going to take our right foot off the knee. We're going to bring that left knee back up to center, quick windshield wiper left to right, and now right knee is going to come in. Right knee is falling in toward my midline. Yep, and then left foot is going to the outside of the right knee. First, just feel that out, see if that's enough. We may not determine that's enough until we fully breathed into that space. And subsequent to that, we can determine that that's not enough. And so then you can apply load onto the right knee with the left foot. This will bring you into that subtle twist of sacrum. Maybe I'm being a little liberal with the word subtle. Might be intense for you. But we're creating now this isometric, right? Not even an isometric, this counter twist by drawing our right hip back toward the ground gently. This will put a highlight on iliosacral for sure. Good, breathe into it. Just a couple more breaths. Fantastic. And now we'll unload right knee. Windshield wiper knees left to right, just to get some range of motion back there. See how the low back and sacrum feels. And now it's time to get into our deep stretches with the hamstrings. Okay, so we're going to take our strap and we're going to bring that strap around the balls of the right foot as we lay on our back still. So right leg comes up. Awesome. And so I'm going to take the structured approach to this. Lots of people will teach this stretch different ways. I like the German approach. So we're going to walk our hands all the way up the strap. So what we're trying to do here is we're trying to eliminate all the slack from the strap, for one, and our arms. So no bend in the elbows, and we have no slack in the strap. Now, the aspirational is we want to straighten our leg, okay? That's the aspirational. If you've got to have a bend in your knee, that'll still work. Now, we kind of initiate the stretch by being in position, but here's how we really initiate the stretch again. What we want to do is, without any slack in the strap or bend in the elbows, we want to draw our shoulders down our back and toward the ground, while simultaneously reaching the bones of the heel, the stretching side heel, toward the ceiling, and spreading our toes or bringing our toes toward our body, or both. Yeehaw. That'll bring some intensity into the stretch. I'll give you a couple other cues as well. So your right heel is reaching toward the ceiling. Your left heel is reaching toward the wall. Can you reach your right heel ever more toward the ceiling as you reach your left heel a little bit more toward the wall, so that you have this opposing 90-degree reach of both heels? Breath will certainly intensify the stretch, especially if you direct the breath into the belly, low back. Another thing that you can do, if you're looking for more, is you can reach your right sit bone, your right butt cheek, toward the wall. So you're dropping your right hip is another way of putting it. And that will definitely add a little bit more depth to the stretch. And at this juncture, You can also adjust your hands. You've probably bought yourself a little bit more space in the stretch. So if we're looking to ride that kind of razor's edge of our flexibility, that's what we would do. While we're here, keep breathing. Good. And now we'll externally rotate the bones of our leg. What that will look like is your foot will turn out. Your heel will stay in place. Yeah. Now this is really going to create some opening along the inside of the ankle, inner calf. And it might travel upward along the medial line of the leg, middle of the leg. What you can also try to do is you can try to, well, first find the outside edge of your right foot, your stretching foot. Once you've found the outside edge of your foot, can you try to bring the outside edge of the foot closer to the ground? You're not moving the leg. You're just reaching the outside edge of the foot toward the ground. That will help expose the inside ankle a little bit more. Good. Another way of saying that, friends, is you can reach toward the ceiling with the inside ball of foot. Yeah, that'll do it. Wonderful. Now, return to neutral with the foot, and then we're going to internally rotate the leg. So we're turning the foot in. This typically is a lot more intense for folks. So we're turning the whole leg and foot in. This will travel for many up the outside of the leg, even into the outside hip. Friendly reminders, we want to eliminate slack from the line or bend in the elbows. Good, chin tuck, neck long, shoulders down the back. Reaching the heel bone up toward the ceiling and spreading your toes will intensify this. Reaching both heel bones away from each other. So your free heel, your ground heel is reaching along the ground. Good. And so now you can reach the outside edge of your foot toward the ceiling to intensify this a little bit more. Another way of saying that is you would reach the big toe knuckle toward your body. This is exposing the outside line of the leg a little bit more. Breathing into that. And if you can take your foot toward the midline of your body, just so it's kind of right in the middle of your body, this will also deepen it. Good. And then unstrap the foot, bend the knee, and let's windshield wiper the knees. Good. I'm gonna take a twist, but first I wanna get this other leg with the same kind of pattern here. Okay, so let's strap the left leg. I do believe it is the left leg. We're gonna get the balls of the left foot. Good. And so we're gonna organize the legs straight. We're gonna organize the arms straight, shoulders down the back, connect to breath. Good, excellent. Shoulders down the back is what's going to really, and toward the floor is what's going to turn this stretch on a little bit once you have everything structured. Good. Turn up the volume by spreading the toes and reaching the heel bone toward the ceiling. Reaching the heel of the right foot along the floor. Good. You can drop that left hip a little bit. So you're making the left side more open, and that will deepen the stretch. Ooh-wee. And then, of course, after a few breaths, you might have earned yourself more space. So my recommendation is see if you got a little bit more strap that you can grab. Good, now we're gonna turn the foot out This is external rotation of the foot, but also the leg bones are turning out. Great. Breathe into the tight spaces there, everyone. Do you have structure in both feet? Are both of your feet flexed? Good. So can you reach your big toe knuckle toward the ceiling and the outside edge of your stretching foot toward the floor? Just to really open up this inner malleolus area, this inner ankle area. And then you'll return to neutral just to prepare for internal rotation. Spreading the toes, reaching the heel toward the ceiling. Structuring both legs will lend itself to the stretch. Breathing deeply will lend itself to the stretch. Drawing the shoulders down the back will lend itself to the stretch. Yep. Rooting the tailbone in the sacrum. Can you reach the big toe knuckle toward you as you reach the blade edge of the foot toward the ceiling? This is a nooks and crannies cue right here. Also useful to keep your foot, your left foot, in your midline in the stretch. Dropping the hip will also deepen the stretch. Again, finding structure in your shoulders if you lost it. You might drop your hip, but all of a sudden your shoulders come up, right? You're trying to find, a compensation you don't even realize. Good. Break. Shake it off. Let's take the strap off the foot. Windshield wiper the knees. I just want to get a brief twist in. A brief but quality twist in. Good. We're going to use our strap for it still. This might take a little bit of real estate. We're going to strap the balls of the feet, the balls of the right foot. Just like we were doing our stretch before. I'll demonstrate. It might be better like this. So I have the strap over the balls of the right foot. I'm going to take both straps into my left hand. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll totally onto my left side. Here's something to think about. The unstrapped leg is going to want to move close to the strapped leg. See if we can do a perpendicular leg there. This will help deepen the stretch. So I'm on my left side, the strap is around my right foot, and I'm holding on to those straps with my left hand. The final move is I'm going to open my right arm and shoulder like I'm opening a book. This is going to give us a really nice hip opening stretch, also hamstring calf on the outside of the leg, and also we'll get a spinal twist here. Okay, so it looks like we are in it, yes. So if you are using the strap, what you're going to do is the same thing you were doing in our last stretch. You're going to try to spread the toes. You're going to try to flex the foot and reach the heel bone to the left. Simultaneously, you're going to reach your right hand to the right. So right hand and right foot are reaching in opposite directions, deepening this twist. We can reach our tailbone away from the crown of the head and even drop the right hip a little bit. So we're trying to create more traction, more length in the spine. And this is a really wonderful stretch for bringing breath into, because you can bring breath into the belly, the low back. You can really bring breath into side ribs, side body. And you can even bring breath into the upper back. So just big, deep, global, posterior, lateral breaths. Excellent. And then we have this opposing reach between right hand, right foot. And now you can even play with just walking your your left foot back along the floor behind you a little bit more. Yeah, because sometimes, again, as I mentioned, it likes to slide toward your stretching leg. Good. 2 more deep breaths here, lengthening the spine and deepening our twist. Fantastic. Now let's bend the knee and just bring that bent knee up to center. Good. I always like a windshield wiper of the knees left to right, just to kind of bring some movement, shake it off, so to speak. Excellent. We're going to get that other leg. We are almost done, gang. Okay, good. So good quality stretching here. Our setup is important. So no slack in the line or bend in the elbows still applies here, yeah? And then we'll allow ourselves to roll onto our right sides. It's a little bit of core work right there to stay stable as you're doing that. Make whatever adjustments you need to make sure that the strap is tight and the elbows are straight. And then we'll open the left arm and shoulder out and go to ourselves. Oh, so that's the side I have trouble twisting on. Good. Nobody is immune from that. I'd like to point that out. It's not a huge, it's kind of a cheap hedge when I say that, because everyone's that way. All right, can you also, something I failed to mention in our last twist, can you get your head involved? Can you look in the direction of your left hand? Since I always like to think of the cranium as the final vertebra, just a vertebra with eyes, ears, a mouth, and olfactory organ. Breathe into this, reaching left hand away from left foot, drawing the muscles of the left leg onto the bones of the left leg. Same with the arm. Even spreading the fingers wide and open will help deepen this. Spreading the toes will definitely help deepen this. And again, reaching the tailbone and the top of the head away from each other. The more you do that, the more you feel that. Good. So at the very least, we're kind of reaching in 4 directions right now. Breathing deeply. That's our 5th direction. So many little things you can do in this stretch, if you are taking this stretch home, so to speak, is also getting the arm involved. Yeah, big circles with the arm. That can always be something you add into this stretch, and sometimes I do. Okay, and when you're ready, you're going to unstrap the foot just to take the load off. Yeah, and then bring yourself both knees up, windshield wiper the knees left to right. Good. And then after windshield wipering your knees left to right, let's roll to our right side and press yourself up to seated. Then from seated, we'll go back to fours. And then from fours, pick a foot, any foot. Maybe your least favorite foot to do this is a good foot to do this. Bring your foot between your hands and press yourself up to standing. Yep. Good, just shake the hand off real quick. Shake the other hand off real quick. Good. Shake the foot off real quick. Closing movement. Good, you got a little balance, coordination action. Shake the other foot off. You got hands and feet going. Get the arms and legs involved. Good, shake the face off a little bit. Try to relax the face. Good, get the spine involved. This is gonna look really funny on the video, but you won't be on the video, it will be me. I just lost my earpiece, that's okay. And good, a couple final shakes. And ground yourself. This is always one good final thing. Try to just lift your heels and drop your heels into the ground. Lift your heels, drop your heels. And just feel your relaxed body, completely relaxed body, just asserting itself into the heels, into the ground. Good. And dear friends, that is our time for today's class. Always many other things.